My name is Chris Laddick. I'm the Commissioner of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development. I have with me Deputy Commissioner Fred Parody on my right and Division of Insurance Director Lori Winghire. And we'd like to talk about the MODA situation. On Wednesday, our counterpart in Oregon, Insurance Commissioner Lori Calley, issued an order of immediate supervision to MODA based on concerns regarding the company's operating losses and inadequate capital. That order allows Oregon to immediately begin supervising all financial decisions made by the company and compels MODA to obtain a capital infusion and develop an approved business plan or face being placed into receivership. Yesterday, the Alaska Division of Insurance then took the necessary steps to protect Alaskan consumers by serving an order of impairment for Moda Health Plan, prohibiting the company from issuing new policies or renewing policies in Alaska. That step was grounded in two sections of Alaska statutes, AS 21-09-175, which is the determination of impairment, and AS 21-09-140, which states that the director shall take action if the insurer's authority to transact insurance is suspended or revoked by its state of domicile. Alaska's Division of Insurance will actively participate in the supervision and review of MODA actions in cooperation with Oregon. While the orders from both Oregon and Alaska allow MODA opportunity to remedy this situation and re-enter the market, MODA's CEO has stated that it is the company's intention to exit the individual market in both states rather than attempt to restructure in a manner that would meet the actuarial requirements necessary to safeguard our consumers. As Premera is the only provider remaining in the individual marketplace in Alaska, this means that new enrollees to the individual market must enroll with them. MODA policies that have already been written will remain in effect as long as the policyholder continues to pay their premium, but cannot be renewed. We have met with Premera and will be working closely with them as we transition over MODA's members. Our meeting with Premera executives indicates that this can be managed in a smooth and orderly way. I was impressed with their willingness to collaborate on a path forward and am grateful to be partnering with them to ensure that Alaskans' ability to obtain and hold insurance is not compromised by this situation. And now Deputy Commissioner Fred Parody and Director of Insurance Lori is here. We're here to answer your questions.
Yourself and your affiliation.
So I'm James Brooks from the Juneau Empire. I mean, Commissioner, you're from Dutch Harbor. I mean, you know what it's like when you only have one place to shop. I mean, what does this do for Alaskans? I mean, this leaves us with one option. There's danger of monopoly and lack of competition. What are we going to do about that?
Lori, would you like to take that?
You're correct. It leaves us with one provider in the individual market. If you're in a small group or a large group, employers basically, there are other options. But even if it is one provider, Premera, we will still apply the same standards when it comes to rates and filings, that they cannot be excessive, inadequate, or they cannot be discriminatory for Alaskans. I hope that answers your questions. We will apply the same standards if it's 1 or 10.
Matt Buxton, Fairbanks, Feeling Youth Minor. Is there any work? I mean, can you guys try to encourage other insurance providers into the market? I mean, can you try to invite or I don't know? Is there?
We are going to work. We have been working, and we're going to continue to work to bring other insurers up to Alaska. There are some mergers going on nationally, and when those are completed, we will see if those insurers are interested in entering the Alaska market. There is a possibility that MODA will be sold, and if it is sold, we will certainly be approaching the new owner to see if they will re-enter and assume the existing MODA business.
So, Austin Baird from Channel 2 News, kind of following up on James's question. Are there concerns that Primera could hike rates, or just like, I mean, are there concerns that, given that there is one option left, that some of the problems associated with monopolies could come into play?
Primera cannot file for rates in the individual market to be effective until January 2017. So again, the rates will have to be filed. They will come in this spring, the rate filings, and we will apply the same standards to that data that we would apply to any carrier. They will not be given any leeway in the filing because they are the only carrier in the state of Alaska.
What would happen if Primera left? I mean, like, is that a concern or a possibility?
It is always a possibility, and it's something we're cognizant of. But at this point, we don't have an answer for you, but we are cognizant of it, and we are researching the situation to see what we would do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Nat Hers with Alaska Dispatch News. I mean, I guess, can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, do you guys have sort of specific knowledge of Primera's finances like you do of MODA? Do they file the same? Do they make the same filings? I mean, what can you say about their
Financial health.
Yeah.
I can say Primera is extremely solvent and financially strong.
Yes, sir.
Steve Quinn with Legislative Digest. Quick question. Do you know how many people are affected by this?
At this particular point in time, the people that are really impacted are those that have not finished open enrollment from the day the Oregon order was signed until January 31st when open enrollment closes. Those are the people that we're most concerned about. The people that had already enrolled, those policies are good until January of next year. But it's those people that have an enrollment, let's say from January 28th till January 31st, or a commercial group that has a February 1st renewal date. Those individuals or employers need to find a new insurer in a very, very short period of time. And those are the consumers we're most concerned about at this particular time. If you have a policy with MODA, and let's say it renewed January 15th of 2016, it is good until 2017. And at this time, we expect that MODA will be able to make the claim payments in that policy.
And I have kind of a follow-up that spins off what Austin and James did. They asked you about the scrutiny that you would apply to Primera. Is there additional scrutiny because they are the only one? Is there criteria saying, okay, to examine prospective monopoly practices?
I would say there will be additional scrutiny as we look at what we take over, what they bring in from the MODA demographics and claims data as we merge it into the Primera. Yes.
Sir.
Nat Hers of Alaska Dispatch News. I mean, what do you guys attribute these problems to, and is there anything that the state can do to, improve the finances of companies in this market?
I don't know that the state has a role in improving finances of the company per se, but we monitor all insurance companies doing business, transacting business in the state of Alaska, and it was through that monitoring that this was discovered.
Go ahead with Liz first.
Liz Raines with KTVA. So I know a lot of state employees use Aetna. They also use MODA for dental. But is there any way that something could be leveraged maybe with Aetna to avoid a monopoly situation?
Aetna withdrew from the individual market, and by statute right now, they cannot return for a period of 5 years. But we will still have a conversation with Aetna. They're still doing group business, but we will still have a conversation with Aetna on the individual market because they are part of a national merger right now, and if that were to go through, to see if they would be interested in returning to the Alaska market at that time.
Okay, and then just to follow up, so the state employees who have MODA for dental, how are they going to be impacted?
That should not be impacted at all. It's actually part of Oregon Dental, and which is under the parent company of MODA, but it is not Moda Health Plan, which is the company we're talking about this morning.
It's a separate entity, and the state is self-insured and uses the dental as a third-party administrator. So the claims risk doesn't reside with the company, it resides with the state.
Sir.
Is there any reason to be in touch with agencies or the state's DC delegation on this?
We spoke with them yesterday. We reached out to them yesterday at the same time we were reaching out to our legislators.
What kind of response did you get as far as any?
It was just a notification. I don't know that we actually received a response. It was just us informing them of the actions that were taken by Oregon and then our parallel order.
Any federal agencies?
We have been working very closely with CMS. I placed a phone call to a gentleman by the name of Kevin Coonahan when Oregon issued their order, and we have been working with him on options that we might have, including removing MODA from the exchange for last-minute enrollees, possibility of how we can transition business, and other options that may be available to us as we go through this difficult time. They've been very good to us in working.
Any kind of solutions as you're down to one?
I wouldn't say they're offering solutions, but they're offering assistance, and we're partnering with them right now to see what we possibly can do. But at this time, we don't have any solutions, but we're certainly working with them to see what options we can put together.
Do you know if any other states are down to one?
It's Wyoming.
Sir.
Andrew Kitchenman, Alaska Public Radio Network and KTOO. For people who recently enrolled with MODA plans, understanding that they can keep their plans for another year, would you advise that? I mean, can they switch plans, and would you advise them to consider switching plans?
I wouldn't at this point. I would advise them to keep their keep paying their premium. If at such point that MODA is put into receivership and we feel that they are unable to pay the claims that they are incurring, we will take the next step and work with the consumers, the Guarantee Association in the state of Alaska, Primera, and CMS to transition those plans so that the consumers are not impaired.
Want to take some questions from the phone?
Sure.
Okay, folks on the phone, we're going to take questions. Please take your turn. We don't have an operator, and please identify yourself when you ask your question. First question.
I'll take a shot at it. This is Elwood, Alliance for Journal of Commerce. How much of this has to do with Congress not adequately funding the risk corridor program? It's my understanding that at least part of MODA's issue is that they didn't get as much funding as they expected to cover a gap between high-use individuals on low-cost or subsidized premiums. Couldn't that problem just continue with another provider?
Elwood, this is Fred Parody. The shortfall in the risk-based corridor payment, where the federal government paid 12.6 cents on the dollar, is one of the threads in the unraveling of their financial condition. It occurred to a number of carriers across the country, but they had to book that shortfall in the third quarter, and it's a beginning step in what's occurred, but there's larger issues at play as well, just in terms of the premium versus claims experience.
Okay.
Next question.
Can you elaborate on that? I mean, the premium versus, it's just they didn't charge enough for their plans?
In essence, they were, at one point, in the aggregate, Primera and MODA in 2015 were paying out $1.11 for every dollar they were taking in.
I mean, is that something that you guys are supposed to be monitoring, or is
we are
that...
monitoring it.
Okay, but Primera as well.
Primera has a deeper pocketbook, and they have a larger book of business throughout Alaska. So in the longer term, they are able to absorb it. It doesn't mean they can do it forever, nor are they willing to. But right now, Primera is financially solvent, and they are continuing to write business in the individual and group market in Alaska.
So I guess I'm just wondering, what kind of change needs to happen for, you know, if Primera is experiencing the same problem? Like, what needs to change for that trend to reverse or be fixed?
It's straightforward. You either have to lower claims costs or increase premiums. Should we go to
Yeah,
radio?
let's take another question from the phone. Next question on the phone, please.
Hi, this is DJ Wilson with State of Reform. I just wanted to clarify first, MODA's leaving the individual exchange marketplace. Are they also leaving the non-exchange individual market and or small group or large group non-exchange marketplaces?
DJ, the order of suspension or supervision issued by MODA or by Oregon suspended all of MODA's operations. Small group, large group, third-party administration, individual on and off exchange.
Just to clarify, it took supervision of all operations.
Next question on the phone, please.
So,
Go ahead.
can I ask maybe
Yes.
just one question? This ties into some of the other thinking about the role of the state of Alaska here. And does this spur on any discussion about reinsurance policy at the state level in this legislative session to support ongoing insurance operations?
That's a very good question.
We know that there is an industry bill that is being presented, but at this time we have not seen the actuarial study to support the bill or what the numbers would look like. So I cannot really comment. I believe the actuarial study is going to be released next week, and we'll be in a better opinion to tell you how that would work.
Great, thank you.
We'll take one more question from the phone. Okay, one more question from here.
And where do we go from here?
Perfect.
We are encouraging MODA customers that this is not a true panic. To keep paying your premiums, your policy is valid. Use your policy, seek medical attention as you would have at the beginning of January. We are monitoring MODA very closely. If they come to a point where they're unable to pay claims, we will take the next step and work with consumers very closely. We are planning but not executing for that transition at this point. But again, it is not necessary for you to seek other insurance at this point. Keep paying your premiums, and we're asking providers to keep accepting MODA as an insurance carrier. We will be working with the congressional delegation, with our legislature, and certainly with the governor's office going forward with CMS on what we can do to get another insurer in the state of Alaska and to protect consumers from this happening again and to provide options for consumers in Alaska as respects insurance companies.